Einen wunderschönen guten Tag. Heute darf ich Professor William Toel begrüßen und heute ein paar Fragen stellen. Wir werden das Interview in Englisch führen. Es wird später dann auch professionell übersetzt. Und ich hoffe, wir können einige Fragen klären, die ich so habe. So, thank you for being with you, William. I'm very glad to be here and to ask you some questions. You are here in Germany because I think it's the time for change. In the next weeks, months, you're proposed that is the time for it,
yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
My first question, because we have got now the situation that in Berlin we have got Mrs. Merkel is preparing a law for herself to make her, let's say, the big one, so she can decide everything she wants. And perhaps we will get some politicians, we don't know exactly what will come after her, if she leaves. And you always tell us she will be away, let's hope, in the next weeks, months. What is this with this law? Is this the last attempt to make something, or is it a revival of 1933? In your opinion?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a revival of 1933. I think it is natural to her personality to want to feel as if she has a control over things. I have seen no evidence that she trusts normal German people and normal German families with their future or with much of anything. And so when the Länder Parlamented, which are supposed to represent people in the Länder, when they have tried to communicate with her, she's not listening. She doesn't listen to that. She's not interested in their opinions. And even in the Bundestag, I was in the Bundestag 10 days ago or so, but when people give good speeches about the needs and questions, she doesn't seem to show the body language of being interested at all. So it doesn't surprise me, given her personality and her nature, and given that she's trying to complete her term as a chancellor with a good legacy.
Yeah.
She wants to be thought of as higher than Helmut Kohl. That's a goal that she has. And so now she only has a few months in which to make that goal to appear to be something very, very good. So she has to have more and more control. And this new law, this new deal where she puts the decisions on her back, is not the end of those controls. Those controls will increase in some subtle ways, invisible ways, and other times in ways that are posturing to say, I am in charge, and don't challenge me. So, but, if you were in her position, or if I were in her position, we might do exactly the same thing. She has a long political history, and now she's trying to protect the very end of it. And she just cannot let things get out of control.
Okay.
So that's where she is right at this moment.
Okay.
So.
And do you think there is another power behind her, perhaps from human side or also from energetic side? I don't know how I can describe it in a better way. I think we have got many thoughts that she is controlled by some secret societies where she is member and something like this.
I don't think it's quite that mysterious. You cannot serve in high public office today without getting a nod from Washington, D.C., from London. Vladimir Putin can't be opposed to it entirely. And so she has many people pulling on her and pulling on her. So when Angela Merkel wakes up in the morning, she's not thinking about a German family in Oberhaching. She is thinking about the geopolitics that she has to solve that day to keep everyone happy. Because Germans aren't allowed to say no and mean no. And so she doesn't really have independent power that a chancellor should have. She has to please 8 or 9 or 10 different outside people. Some of those people we know about because we can see their face.
Yeah.
But others are extremely wealthy people who never show their face. And so we don't know their name, we don't know their face. But they finance politicians all over America, all over Canada, all over France. And so they naturally have to protect their assets. And their assets are worldwide assets. And in some cases they include 700 newspapers and 300 radio stations, but they also include property all over the world. Very expensive prime property. And so they're not thinking about evil things every day. They're thinking about how can I protect my wealth and how can I get wealthier, because they're in a race with other wealthy people.
Yeah.
Try to get the best piece of land, the best deal, the best stock options. And so they live in a very fast-paced world. But they are more than happy to put huge amounts of money into a political campaign through many sources, by the way, and in exchange for the fact that that politician will partially serve them and prudently serve them. That politician won't ever reveal, oh, I have received 10 million euros from this source, and so now I have to take care of that source. Those are always unsaid. So the people who are on your ballot for September, the people who were on your ballot in the previous election, of course, were approved by 8 or 9 different outside agencies, Washington being the most important, London being the second most important, making sure Putin is not opposed is the third most important. But then there are 6 or 7 other entities that have to be satisfied. They have to remain calm. And it's not that they agree with everything, but they can't disagree with anything. So once again, when she wakes in the morning, I would say that German families and German needs would never be above her 10th priority for that day. And German people are happy to remain obedient, they're happy to remain asleep, and they are happy to be sustained at not a high level, but at a medium level. And so she has no problem making Germans the 10th priority, because they're happy to have anything at all. So it's a good situation as long as she pleases those 9 or 10 entities that she has to please. And whoever is on the ballot and a serious contender in September will also have to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to these 9 or 10, or they won't be on the ballot. Something will happen to them that will remove them from contention. So whether it's Baerbock or whether it's Laschet or whether it's Söder, it doesn't matter. Okay, they will be allowed to have a voice for the election as long as they don't oppose the powers that be.
Logical.
Yeah.
So this is the one thing. The other thing I'm thinking of is the situation we have now with the last days and weeks with the Ukraine, where there is a big, let's say, somebody tries to make a clash or provoke a clash, and now it seems that the Ukraine will be left alone. The Russians said, okay, this is the red line until here, and then it's over, and you can make a deal with us, or we make the Ukraine have gone. So this is what I heard from some videos, also from the English side or American side, and I think also this could be an opportunity to revolve the Americans from, let's say, the Ukraine problem and also from the European problem. I always think about, you said, there will be a time when the German government will step back because of the 3 storms you mentioned. And I also think, will there be an opportunity for the US forces to leave Germany in a friendly way, so they can say, we have now other problems in our country, so we have to go. And I think when the military power is gone, then there will be an opportunity from my side.
You have vielen Gelegenheiten coming. You have many opportunities coming. Vladimir Putin is going to take Kiev because it is the spiritual heart of Russia, and it's his number 1 priority. And when he wakes up in the morning, his priority, Kiev is sacred to him. He's a deeply spiritual man.
Yes.
And so Mother Russia, which is what he loves, cannot exist without the heart, which is Kiev. So, but he's a very patient man, and he's a wonderful chess player.
Yes.
And so where we in the West are in a hurry and we're impatient and we say things first and then think about them later, that's natural to us. Putin will wait for months and months and months waiting for the opportunity. So he's a very smart man, and he's a deeply spiritual man, which means he's not going to make timing mistakes. He's going to take Kiev, whether that means a corridor to Kiev, or whether it means most of eastern Ukraine, that's fine. He has no interest in western Ukraine, none. He has 0 interest in that. So, but this is beyond a geopolitical desire for him. This is a heart passion for him.
Okay.
So you can count on that. And the U.S. will be looking for opportunities to redeploy their troops without making people angry. So, like, we're leaving Afghanistan, so that means that you're leaving. Germans are to have to leave immediately because, we have a game we play. We don't like to be seen as bad people in America. We don't. We want to be seen as good people, in America. And so when we go into Afghanistan or Iraq, we have a big coalition, and the Germans have to be there, and the British have to be there, and we have to have many, many partners. But if you notice, they don't do anything. Okay, they're there to show that it's a coalition. So we're not only leaving Afghanistan, which means everyone else is leaving Afghanistan on the same day, but we also are looking for ways to redeploy our troops. We have massive problems at home, and we're just it's like a pot. This is boiling, but it's not overflowing, and so we're not going to shed any blood over the Ukraine. Americans are not going to shed blood over the Ukraine. We're not going to start a worldwide war or a nuclear war over Kiev. And everyone knows that, but no one says it. No one can say it. So those are geopolitical realities because Joe Biden or Donald Trump are constrained by mothers. By mothers. So there are mothers all over America that say, I have a 19-year-old daughter who I love with a passion. I have a 19-year-old son, and I think he's the most handsome guy in the entire world. And am I willing to send him to the Ukraine to die over Kiev? And the answer is absolutely no, under no circumstances. So neither Joe Biden nor Donald Trump can commit hundreds of thousands of young American children, they're really children, I mean they're 19, 20 years old, boys and girls, unless the mothers agree with it.
Yes.
So it means you have to prepare the mothers for this. And you can't prepare the mothers for the Ukraine because there's nothing you can say to them. But on the other hand, let's take, my love is for Germany. I love Germans, period. I was born loving Germans. That is a deep, passionate love. And nothing I can do about it. So, but think about German mothers and the way, okay, you got German mothers today who are 40 to 45 years old. And they have children, maybe who are 19 years old. And what is a German mother thinking when she wakes up in the morning?
The same thing.
The same thing. How can I protect my baby? Listen to me. How can I protect my baby? Because they're still the mother's baby. All right? She won't release them until they're in their 30s from being the baby.
No.
Right. So now the German leader says, we have NATO obligations, and so we must send 35,000 German troops immediately to fight Russians. Now, I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
When Germans think well, they're the best thinkers in the world. But Germans aren't thinking at all today. They don't ask questions, and they're not thinking well. But things focus you. And a German mother is never. German mothers will go to the streets with signs before they let their children go off to fight Russians once again.
Yeah.
Russian tanks, Russian artillery. You know, when the Russians engage in something, they get really serious about it, you know. And Germans are pacifists. Yeah. They're environmentalists, okay? They have been raised to be timid, okay? And so how are you going to have your NATO obligations when there are no German mothers who want anything to do with this? Nothing. German mothers might say, yes, we must defend our borders because that is our homes and our lands and our schools. But other than that, I have not met a German mother who would ever send her baby off to bleed in the streets of Kiev.
I'm completely with you because I have some friends in the army, and I know how the word here in Germany, the German soldier is nothing worse for the politicians and for the, let's say, also for all the community. But as they were sent, let's say, to Africa, to Afghanistan, nobody knows what they are doing there. They don't know what they are doing there else. So nobody wants them to go there. And the only thing, most of them say, no, they become 10,000 or 15,000 euro for half a year, tax-free, and this is the only motivation I know for them.
I know.
So I don't think they
want Mark, I want you to understand that once again, things that look to us to be a conspiracy of some kind or something that's very bad are natural behaviors. I lectured and gave a major lecture at the university, at the Bundeswehr University in Hamburg, and then again in Munich. And I love these young Germans wearing the uniform. I mean, they're young men, young women. They're fun to be with. They're nice people. But we have purposely, the Allies have purposely made them so they can't fight anybody. They don't have the spirit of fighting in them. They don't have the weapons they need for fighting, and they don't have the motivation that they need for actually fighting. So as much as I love these young men and women, and I've been surrounded by hundreds of them at times, it would be a tragedy to put them in harm's way where shooting is taking place. Because we have purposely made sure that they don't have what they need to succeed on the battlefield, which means they have to die. And that is terribly, terribly unfair. If Liechtenstein wanted to invade Germany tomorrow, they would win.
Yes.
Okay. and so now what do? Now you have a Liechtenstein government. So, these are wonderful young people, but they are not ready for a real battlefield. They're not ready for it. Okay. So.
Yeah, I understand. I'm with you, and this is the one question.
Okay.
And this would be an opportunity for me to leave, perhaps, for the US forces, perhaps for Germany, when they say, okay, we quit. But I'm not sure if you see an opportunity for it.
It doesn't, Mark, it doesn't matter whether there's an opportunity for it. Because if they stay here and watch television in their barracks and play cards, then it's the same as if they've left. Okay, so we don't need to have a plan or having a tipping point where the American forces all get on planes and they go away. They can remain here. And matter of fact, I think they will remain here for a while, as long as they don't interfere with a newly sovereign Germany. And I don't believe that they will interfere. I don't believe their commanders will interfere. I don't think that Americans have a desire to be involved in a Germany that's coming free and is filled with love, and a Germany who is enjoying freedom from a burden of guilt and things that should have gone away a long time ago. And so I say to me, I would think 25 or 30,000 American troops would probably stay here because we think that brings stability, but I think they'll be mostly invisible to you. And so you need to leave them alone. Don't bother them. They're watching TV, they're playing cards, they're having fun.
They're not interested.
They're not interested. So unless you cause them trouble, they're not going to cause you any trouble. You'll be allowed to grow. You'll be allowed to find leaders that love German families. So my sense is they'll probably leave about 25,000 here. And others will be redeployed for a good reason that is really no reason at all. In essence, we must do this and we must do that. We must move them to Latvia. We must move them to the Ukrainian border. In reality, those are token moves. You understand? They're token moves. And they have nothing to do with...
They just put away and...
Yeah, it's like taking your chessboard and you're taking the pawns on the front and you're moving them here and here. The board doesn't change and the power doesn't change, but it appears that you're doing something. And with politicians, appearance is very important.
And after this, I think why it is allowed that a cash cow, like you also call Germany, is allowed to be brought down, because a cow who is not giving milk is not interesting, I think, for all the guys sitting around us. And this is the question why the politicians are allowed to do what they do now, because they killing the cow. I feel so. I think so.
Well, let's just say they're keeping the cow from becoming a bull. Okay. So Germany, when it's operating at 70%, 75%, is a wonderful cash cow. And it benefits many, many people outside of Germany. It benefits us greatly. And benefits the Brits greatly. So, the Brits now have a divorce. They say, we divorced Germany. I mean, they didn't divorce Europe. They divorced Germany. But if you notice, they are still a very powerful influence in everything that goes on here. So they have the best of both worlds, don't they? They have a divorce, so they don't have to listen to Angela Merkel's voice lecturing them. Okay. And at the same time, they still have control over the children. Get it?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that Germany as a cash cow at 70% is still a wonderful cash cow.
Okay.
And of course you have to have the 30% to make sure that Germany doesn't all of a sudden think that it's a bull. Okay? Because you can't, that is what is sacred in geopolitics today. Germany must always think about itself low and down and hopeless and worthless. But if you were so worthless, why does everyone want to control you?
Yes.
Okay? Well, they want to control you because you're the opposite of worthless. And if that other 30% is ever engaged, oh my, oh my, So the U.S. knows that if we control Germany, we can always be the superpower. Vladimir Putin knows every day, if he can gain control of Germany, Russia will now be the superpower. And Xi in China knows exactly what the game is. You've got to get Germany. So today, you have a smile, and you always are telling Germany, we're here to care for you, we want commercial contracts, we want you to send plane after plane of German business people to us, and we will treat them in the emperor's palace and give them everything that they want. Okay? And China wants to control Germany because Germany is the most valuable property on the face of the earth.
Okay.
And Germans individually have also immense value within them. But they are told a story about who they are that makes them feel worthless all the time, as if they have no value. Okay? So we have a story that's been going on for 75 years that's overly simple. It's only one-sided story, and the German is always a villain with a black hat, and the Allies, are always have a halo. They have a halo over them, and so it is almost like a story for a kindergarten child, but yet adults believe the story inside Germany and outside Germany. So the Germans can only be victims, and Mark, they can only be losers. So we have trained you how to be permanent losers and permanent victims. And every German knows this, but they can't talk about it. They understand the game, but they can't talk about the game. They'll lose their job. Their neighbors won't say hello to them anymore. The police will start paying attention to their telephone. So there's no way out for the German. You're always the villain. You're always in Hollywood today, we don't know who to use as villains. We used to use Arabic people, but now we can't do that. That's politically incorrect. And we used to use black people. We can't do that. That's politically incorrect. And we used to use, these. But you could always use a German as a villain. Because it's their role forever. And so using a German as an assassin or as a villain or as an evil person, now you get applause in the movie theater. But the story is overly simplified. It's totally one-sided, and the story itself is ridiculous. No thinking person would buy into this story. Every nation has people within it who are no good, who are sometimes good, and who are mostly always good. Every nation has the same proportion. Germany has 5% that are no good, 30% that are sometimes good, and they have 20% that are usually good. It's the exact same proportion in the United States, in Canada, in France, in Russia. and in Romania. Okay, so the story that one people on earth are permanently bad, so great that Dwight Eisenhower writes home to his wife, Mamie, okay, back in America, and says, I wish I could kill all Germans. And Duff Cooper, who is the shadow prime minister of all of Great Britain, stands up in the chamber, okay, and says, I want to kill every woman and child in Germany before this war ends. So the hatred was intense, and it was fully justified, because in order to finance and have a worldwide war, remember we had 32 allies that were signed up. They actually had signed their name to destroy Germany. So to keep all of this together, and remember, the Russians and the Americans and the British had nothing in common. These people were communist and godless, and these people were, at that time, were deeply religious, God-fearing people who didn't like communists in any way. So to keep all this together, there had to be one powerful enemy. And the enemy had to be not human, but they had to be from the devil. The enemy had to be from the devil. That way you could raise the money, you could keep 8 and 9 million troops enthusiastic about their deal, and you could keep allies who didn't like each other glued together. So the only way you could do it is by making all Germans. It wasn't just Hitler that was evil, but everyone around Hitler was from hell, was evil, and then the Germans who followed these people obviously had to be attracted to evil. Got it?
Yes.
So it means they had to be destroyed. They had to be destroyed on the battlefield, totally and completely. I mean, that's why you have a second-day bombing of Dresden.
Yes.
That's why you have other actions at the end of the war. Those actions weren't needed to win the war, but they were needed to terrify Germans for all generations, so that they would always live in terrible fear of shock and awe coming upon them. So now, of course, we have a Germany 75 years later who's about to get freedom, and look at the mentality that is still swirling around. Now, when I first mentioned Bletchley Park, and actually what happened there, because the leaking has been only with little bits. It's been a purposeful leak.
Yeah.
In essence, the people who were there couldn't leak it because they not only signed the Official Secrets Act, which meant off to prison, but they also signed other papers in which they were to deny ever being in that part of England. They never existed. They never stayed there. They didn't know where it was. And so that story is held. So there has been leaks about how Bletchley Park tried to poison vegetables in Germany so that genetically all vegetables would be poisoned in Germany for 100 years. There's been leaks about that because it's a ridiculous story. It's true, but it's a ridiculous story. There's been leaks about the Enigma and about code breaking at Bletchley. Well, Bletchley Park was a fairly large country estate. There was only one room the size we're in that had anything to do with code breaking. So out of 200 brilliant people, there were only a dozen involved in code breaking.
I understand.
Okay, so we're willing to leak little bits to try to satisfy the curiosity. But what I'm revealing is what happened in all the rooms at Bletchley Park. What happened with 200 brilliant people. IQs of over 150. 6 or 7 IQs of over 160. Okay? And so what I'm revealing is the activities and the goals of Bletchley Park. And that puts me in the crosshairs in Berlin and in the Allied capitals. Okay?
I understand.
So I am one human being who knows exactly what happened. Okay? And so that makes me extremely dangerous person. Because if that story was so sophisticated and it was such an effective psychological operation, and it was massive, it was unlimited money. if they wanted whatever they wanted, they got it immediately. They had priority over the fighting troops in uniform. And at Bletchley, most of them were civilians.
Yes.
Some of them dressed up in little naval uniforms, but they looked terrible because they were just civilians. They were academics and scientists and things like that. So, but the German people, German population, German families have got to know what happened at Bletchley Park, because they can't be free without understanding that, all right? And there's no one alive to tell them that. And the importance of Bletchley Park is proven by the fact that more Victoria Crosses that were given to the civilians at Bletchley Park than were given to the soldiers who fought the war. So that means that these people's work was more important than military work, because their work ended in, let's say, 1940, summer of 45, and then peaceful troops came in to administer the peace. But these people's work went on forever, and it grew generation after generation. It grew deeper and deeper, to the point that eventually all Germans would forget what it was even like to be a German. It's as if they were an astronaut in space and they went out to take a spacewalk. And they had an umbilical cord back to their home. But the umbilical cord got broken. And now the German is floating in space so far away from the rocket ship that they can't remember what it was like inside they can't remember any longer. So now they're floating aimlessly, and they don't know who they are, but they can't remember who they were. And we're at that point in Germany, which is why the perfect storm has to come now and could not come before. Because as long as you had hope of escaping on your own, the perfect storm wasn't needed. Okay? And I wasn't needed. All right? But the perfect storm is not of human origin. And in reality, I guess I'm not either. So that means that you're getting help from a different place. You're looking for help from Donald Trump. You're looking for help from Putin. You're looking for help from Brussels or Strasbourg. You're looking for help from the United Nations. You're always looking for help in the wrong places, because you're looking for help for people that have no power and also no desire. So the only thing that can save Germans is love. And love has to be absolutely pure to save Germans. It can't be love that's motivated by human ego, because it will look good and then fall apart. And now, once again, the German is betrayed. They're left alone. So this love is not from a human source. And so it gives you now an opportunity to escape, unless you enjoy being slaves.
No, I don't. not my opinion, yes.
So, what other questions do you have for me?
What you said, I feel something like you are talking a little bit about, I will say, magic. A magical energy, what is created, and we have to break, or the only thing is to break this magical energy from within, to find the truth in ourselves, and then to come apart from this energy waves or something like this. What is created on, I understand that is still, or somebody is still working on it, on this bad energy. Also for the Western people, I think, because many people in Western countries are losing also their mind and their heart and anything else.
It's like an insanity that's coming over the world. But I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I don't care about Western countries. I don't care about what happens in the United States, or what happens in France, or what is happening in Estonia. It's not that I don't respect them, but I only have so much energy, and I was born for Germans.
Yes.
And I was not born for any other reason whatsoever. And so my love for Germans is superior to all other things. So when I think about anything, I think first about the German people, the German families. I'm not thinking about the schmecky-meckies off in Berlin somewhere. Yes. They have insurance and lawyers and big Mercedes and drivers. They have no need for me whatsoever. So I'm thinking about the normal German family that has to get up every day and try to understand what's happening around them, and they can't understand it. And they're told they have to remain silent, they have to be quiet, and they have to be down, and they have to have a smallness about them. Nothing could be farther from the truth. So it's not magic, Mark, because that means that somehow it's something that could be good, or it could be bad, or it could be this. Love is something that is at the very core of creation. Without love, the world would have fallen apart and destroyed itself a long, long, long period of time ago. And as long as there's a tiny ember that is still glowing of love, the world has hope, okay? Because if it comes back into flame, then it has an elation, it has strahlings of light, and it spreads, and it has momentum, and it makes people feel hopeful. But it's not manipulative, ever. It never manipulates anybody, and it doesn't have any ego. So it can't possibly gain from itself. It's an energy force that brings good. And it's an energy force that makes people feel as if their lives are worthwhile and that their future.
Yeah.
So it causes people to want to have children because that's a vote for the future. But the problem is that the German mind today, which is from here up, okay, it's a massive mind up here, but not much down here.
Yes.
The German mind today wants to overcomplicate things, okay? And love is as simple as a child. It's as simple as a 2-year-old child taking hold of your hand and say, I trust you. Take me to the potty. Please give me something to eat. Please will you protect me, because there's monsters in the closet. There's frightening things, and the child doesn't know anything, and so it trusts in mom and dad that mom and dad will never ever hurt them. So it's a wonderful childlike trust, and that is love. That's what love is. Okay, and so the love I feel for Germans is exactly that. It is innocent, childlike, and it's absolutely pure. So I can gain nothing from it. But because love is something that the regime and the matrix, they can't fight against it. When they fight against it, they look foolish, okay? But also, they don't have a strategy to fight against it, Mark, because they don't know what it is.
They don't understand it.
They don't understand it. And so how can you fight against an enemy and you don't even know where to attack the enemy? So if German people will stay with love and unity, okay, and treat each other in a positive way, start speaking, find anything good about another German, say, I like your smile, but today it's just the opposite, and it's just the opposite. We, the Allies, have trained you all the way through your school system. We have trained you how to turn on each other, how to stay divided from each other. When you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're confused, we don't want you turning outside on Allies. Us, we want you turning inside on each other. Judgmentalism, finding fault over the tiniest little things, being critical of other Germans, or labeling other Germans. Oh, William, don't talk to that man. He's a communist. We don't even know his heart. We have no idea what he's thinking. But it is a common spiel
Yes.
in Deutschland today to label and judge and criticize and be negative. So every group I talk to, I tell them firmly, because I'm not coming here with words alone. I'm coming here with power.
Okay.
And so I tell them very firmly, I don't want any more negativity towards Germans. None. Or you have to deal with me.
Okay.
Okay? Because I love Germans. And when you're critical of Germans, then you're making me upset. Okay? And you don't want me to be upset. Okay?
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have the question, the last one. And yeah, you also said something about 2,000 lost words, or not lost because erased words.
They were erased.
Yeah.
They were erased from your dictionary.
Yeah.
They were erased from your daily way of living. And I made a mistake 3 weeks ago. You know, I do 4 or 5 meetings a day.
Yeah.
And other than today, it's in 4 or 5 villages. So somebody's going to drive me and then drive me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go and I forget to eat, you know, and it's like, so, but I made a mistake because I saw these huge volumes of 2 books written by young German academics, good academics. And they wrote these books about words that are no longer used in Germany. So they were expensive, so I didn't buy them. And they were in German, so I didn't buy them. But I mentioned that, to a couple of groups, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, about these 2 volumes. But those are the wrong volumes, because now I have seen the volumes, and there are some words in there that the Allies erased, but most of the words in there are simply a summary of Nazi Zeit words. That's all it is, Nazi Zeit words. And that is not the whole story. So I was at a meeting the other day with 20 people around the table, and they brought a guitar with them. And when I was finished, they said, would you sing a song? It was one of their folk songs from their region. And they wanted me to sing it with them. I was glad to sing it with them, because I pronounce German words pretty good, but I don't speak German. And so we all started singing, and halfway through, I started crying. I couldn't stop crying. I just was like it was dripping on my sport coat, and then they started crying. Those were the words. That's where the words are. They're in your poets. They're in your literature. They're in Goethe, they're in Schiller, they're in Kant, they're in Heidegger, they're in Willam, they're in Eichendorff, they are in tens of thousands of German songs and German poems and German literature, and the way that Germans talk about each other with love. And that's what we took away, that's what we robbed from you, because if you try to play those songs or read those poetry outright, or if you say, I am proud of our German heritage, you are under suspicion immediately. So the moment you start finding these words, instantly a bucket of cold water is poured on your head, and now you have to pull back within. So we rob these words from you, which are romantic words. They are spiritual words. They are heart words. They are words about love. Love and German tragedy. Eichendorff's poem about das eine totes Kind. I mean, if you could read that poem, you would start crying. But the words that are used in that poem have not been heard for 75 years. Now you take 10,000 poems from 1,000 German poets. Now add in the songs. Now add in your history of astonishing literature. Amazing patterns of German words. All the words are back with you again. Okay. They're all there. You don't have to go buy a book. It's already there for you.
You have just to refine it.
All you have to do is refine, what does it mean to be a German?
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, I was with Germans before 1945. I was with Germans in 1903, and in 1923, and in 1934. And they look just like Germans today. Every meeting, the faces and the body language are the same. The clothes are a little bit different, but not much different. But these Germans had fun. They were in love with being German. They were in love with German beer and German food and German music, and they were peace-loving, family-loving, freedom-loving people, but they had no hang-ups. Nothing was off limits. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that means they could enjoy their life fully without feeling guilty about anything, or without looking over their shoulder to see who is listening to me, and the Missverstandes, oh my. So they were the same Germans as you are today, and as this young lady is today, but they had a lot more fun than you do, because they were in love with being German. They were in love with their land. They thought they were the luckiest people on earth. They looked at the mountains, and they looked at the lakes, and they looked at the soil and the ground, and they loved everything about being German. And they didn't think of other things. They weren't obsessed with other things. Okay?
Yes.
So I want Germans to start having fun again.
Okay.
And they can have fun again when they fall in love with what's already in them. You were created to be something. And then if I tell you, I don't like what you were created to be, Mark, so now I want to recreate you in what I think you should be. Okay? Now I rob you of the vitality and the energy that is natural in you. Because now you have to pretend to be a Zweite Klasse Amerikanisch, or you have to pretend to be a Zweite Klasse Europäisch, or you have to pretend to be another person other than who you are. And you have no fun, because the pressure and the burden is upon you, okay? You start out with a lie, now you have to tell more lies to yourself.
Yes.
And that's the worst kind of lie, Mark, is when you lie to yourself. So all I want you to do is just be totally who you were created to be. Okay? I don't want you to change anything. You don't need to become more educated. You don't need to be taller. You don't need to be thinner. You don't need to have fancy clothes. Just be yourself, and I will be fully happy. Fully happy. Okay?
I understand. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I think, thank you very much, William, for this interview.
Okay.
And I think, ich bedanke mich jetzt beim William für das Gespräch, und dann schauen wir mal, wo uns das Ganze hinführen wird, die nächsten Tage und Wochen. Ich denke, die Botschaft ist klar. Stoppen.
Jetzt auf den roten Knopf wieder drücken.
Okay.
Genau.